What is up, everyone? I'm Devin Harrington, the average Gen Xer. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to have you here. If this is your first time here, thanks for coming by to hang out with me. So, today we're headed back to the Regretful Parents subreddit to read some posts from people who have regrets about their choices to have children. As always, please remember my posts about regretful parents are not in any way meant to mock the pain of those folks who are not loving parenthood, but rather just to highlight the experiences of people who found out the hard way that having kids is not the gloriously fulfilling validation that society and the media often make it out to be. As a child-free person myself, my whole life, although back in the day, we didn't have a name for it other than, oh, you'll change your mind when you're older. Yeah, no. So I just present these posts as a cautionary tale, mainly to anyone out there who may be on the fence about having kids. And one thing I wanted to talk about before then, if you just want to skip to me reading the posts and reacting, you can go to this timestamp. But if you're going to stick around, wanted to give you my usual little Gen X tale. So it's often said about Generation X that we were the last generation of quote unquote feral children. This would be kids who were allowed to leave the house, go out and play, hang out with your friends, run around the neighborhood, just, play, be a kid. Even as you got into your early teens, you would just go out and hang out with your friends. There was no cell phones, no computers, no Ring doorbells, no surveillance cameras, no way for your parents to track you. So that's why it's feral. You were just out there in the wild. In my case, in the wilds of suburban America, like many people. And our parents just trusted us to not do anything stupid and to come home on time. And we did most of the time. And that was usually by dinner time or by the time the street lights came on, if you lived in town where there were street lights. So one of the reasons why I could never deal with having kids is because I don't think I could stand the constant worry about what might happen to them. And that's mainly because of some of the ridiculous shit that I did when I was a kid. So, for example, here's my story for today. In 1984, when I was 13 years old, I stayed over my best friend Lisa's house. She lived at the top of Tower Hill in Lawrence, Massachusetts, where I grew up. And that's kind of right off of Haverhill Street. I guess technically it's probably Methuen, Massachusetts, if you know the area, if you're familiar. Anyway, this was a busy street in a small industrial city, and Lawrence is and was, even at that time, but definitely is now, a pretty dangerous place to grow up. Pretty high crime. Anyway, when you're 13 years old, who cares, right? The only thing my friend Lisa and I were concerned with was dolling ourselves up like our idols, which, of course, in 1984 were Cyndi Lauper and Madonna. And we used to dress up like them all the time. Sometimes Madonna. I was more into Cyndi Lauper. I just really loved her "She's So Unusual" vibe and the crazy colors in the hair. That wasn't a really common thing back then yet. So she was just much more artsy and interesting to me. And she I mean, I don't know if Cyndi Lauper still does. She is absolutely one of my creative heroes to this day. But back then, she had a 4-octave voice, so she could blast Madonna anytime. But I digress. I was staying at my friend Lisa's house. Like teenage girls do, we stayed up till all hours. Lisa's parents, I'm not sure. Her dad was a trucker, so he may not have been around. Her mom worked different shifts as a waitress. Lisa was the oldest. She had a younger brother who was maybe a year or two younger than us. Then she had a younger sister. But back in the Gen X days, parents would just leave the oldest kid to watch the younger kids. And I mean, that was just totally normal. Lisa and I were 13 and 14. So, of course, we were old enough to watch kids. That was just the times. So, we were all. If there was any parental supervision, by the time it's 1, 2, 3 in the morning, her parents are asleep. And we're up listening to music, drinking soda, probably sneaking cigarettes, and we dressed ourselves up in the Cyndi Lauper, Madonna kind of style with our colored, Aquanet crazy hairspray and lace fingerless gloves and all kinds of ridiculous jewelry. Lisa and I used to have contests to see how many pairs of earrings we could stick in our one pierced ear. It was the 80s. You had to be there. Ridiculous. So we were just done up to the nines. I remember I had pulled, I thought I was just so cool. It's Massachusetts. It was chilly out. So I had like a jacket and then I had it pulled off one shoulder, like it was a lady of the evening. 13 years old. So we decide, the way you do at 13 and 14 years old, that we're going to walk down to the Cumberland Farms on Haverhill Street in Lawrence. That, even in 1984, was a ridiculous, crazy, dangerous thing for little girls who are dressed up like that to do. Little girls of any age dressed like anything, but particularly dressed up basically like we were video vixens or hookers. So we take her 12-year-old brother, Stephen, with us. And Stephen was a big kid. He was pretty tall and, pretty husky. And so he was basically our bodyguard or pimp, if we had known at the time what that really was. We just thought of him as like our guard. And we all walked down to the Cumberland Farms, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, because we wanted to go when there was, not many people out, because we realized we're kids and we're dressing up like this and we probably shouldn't be doing this. I mean, you're not an idiot at 13. So we walked outside, we're walking along, we get to Haverhill Street, we head down the block to go to Cumberland Farms, or Cumbies as they call it there. We probably thought we were going to buy, more soda or whatever. And I don't know about Lisa. I don't remember if we discussed this, but I did grow up to be an actress. And at the time, I just felt like everything was a movie. And I decided we were, like two ladies of the evening finishing our shift. And we're just, stopping in. We're just pretending to be grown up. When you're at that age, you're like on the cusp of being a real teenager and getting some independence. You just want to be grown up so badly. And I just so badly wanted to be like Cyndi Lauper or Madonna, who were in these videos dancing around. They were both from New York City. And I just thought it was the most glamorous thing. So we go walking down the block. There's cars driving by, honking. It's 4 a.m, so there's not that many cars driving by. But when these cars are driving by and they see what they see with me, with the, and the hair and the jewelry and the makeup, and we're carrying our purses like we're so grown up, the jacket off one shoulder, and Steven with us, they're honking their horns, and Steven yells out, "They're not for sale!" And he's 12. So we got to the Cumberland Farms and we went in. And I remember at the time just thinking, we're totally selling this. Like, this guy behind the counter really believes that we're, these grown up, 18, 19-year old, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but, prostitutes. And so we go to pay for our whatever we got. And he looks at us and he just says, "Late night, ladies." And of course, I'm 13 years old. So I really thought, like, wow, he really is like believes that we are grown up and we're, just insanity. Anything could have happened to us. I mean, we had Steven with us, so it wasn't, it wasn't like I was by myself or it was just me and Lisa, but still anything could have happened. But that was the kind of thing that you could do at that time. And there's no video record of it, There's no there's no way that I could actually prove that that happened. And my parents never knew. They still don't know that I did that. Of course, they would have beat my ass and been very upset if they had found out that we had done that. But just the fact that I was 13 and I was a really good girl and did as I was told most of the time. But doing stuff like that, that's the kind of thing that gets kids just killed, and I couldn't handle that stress. I would definitely be a regretful parent if I had chosen to have kids, just from the amount of stress that even once they get past the horrible baby and toddler stage and get out in the world doing stuff, then you have to worry about them all the time. And I just could not deal with the worry. So, anyway, let's get into some Regretful Parents subreddit posts. Okay, so our first post is called "It's the Kid's Birthday." The kid. The kid. Long story short, I never wanted kids. I hate kids. This is something my husband was told the day we met. But we have two. He essentially made it a condition of our relationship. I was young, stupid, and pathetic, and wanted to be good enough for him. So I allowed him to ruin my life. Not to mention, I ruined my life myself through a lack of foresight. At least this woman has has a remarkable amount of self awareness. So kudos for her, to her. Not to mention, I ruined my own life through myself through a lack of foresight. Fast forward, it's the youngest one's birthday. He's 7 today. And I am so sad thinking about how okay, not good, not great, but not insufferable either, the day he was born was, and how okay things were for the first 6 months of his life, and how I'd sell my soul just to go back to that. Currently, I am trapped in my husband's house with no job and no prospects to be employed. I am always stuck with these kids here. I mean, she doesn't say how old she was when she got with the husband and got decided to have kids, but she does say she was fairly young, and I wish if people like me were in charge of things, I wish that you had to get a license and be a certain age to have children, the way you do to buy alcohol, join the military, vote, drive a car, get a job, all the important things. I wish that, but alas. The first year of the little one's life, I worked. I struggled really hard with it, but I could at least bring in a little money and could go through the motions by doing the bare minimum in planning birthday parties and stupid shit like that. It's obvious that, she said right off, she hates kids, she didn't want kids, and now she has them. That would be like if I hated dogs. If I hated dogs and all of the bullshit that comes along with dogs, and then I got with some idiot and he talked me. I'm really trying with this camera. Sorry, guys. And he talked me into having two big, hairy, messy, boundary lacking dogs who just want to lay all over me, sleep in my bed every night, and I have to be responsible for them and take care of them and love them and treat them right and make sure they get exercise every day. And I'm really sorry about this camera, y'all. Sorry. Um, if I hated that, all of the stuff that comes along with taking care of large dogs, I I would have to unalive myself. That would be so miserable. And this is such a common story. Whether someone really wants to have kids, this is such a common story where someone really doesn't want kids, or they're not sure and they fall in love and they get talked into it, and then they end up on the Regretful Parents subreddit, and it's a tragic waste of human potential, in my humble opinion. Anyway, she goes on. As it is now, there is no one to handle these kids, and everyone has pretty much forgotten the little one exists, while the big one is a snot-nosed shitwad who behaves like a perverted sociopath and is my husband's family's little pet, while they ignore that the little one, who is kind of slow but who is a saint compared to the older one, was ever even born. I'm so sad that all of his birthdays, shit, his whole life have fucking sucked because I can't be bothered to try to plan a party or anything for him. As the last time I tried to pull one together, it put me in debt and no one even showed up. That is the saddest thing. That's another thing I could personally never handle. Childhood is heartbreaking because just by the nature of it being childhood. You're new to it. You're new to life. You get your heart broken. And to have to watch my child get their heart broken over whatever it is, but everyone has heartbreak in childhood, and the first cut is the deepest. I mean, can you imagine having a birthday party and nobody would show up? Poor kid. But the fact that this girl went into debt to do something that she didn't even really want to do, it's so unnecessary. Oh, it's so sad. His birthdays are always so depressing, and I am stuck thinking always that this wasn't even worth it. No one gives a shit about this kid, and his life is not going to be very good because of it. She's talking about her younger son, who is 7. Today is his 7th birthday. I mean, I don't even like kids either, and my heart is just breaking for this little kid. I get to think about this day. I get to think about this day in and day out while my husband just distracts himself giving zero fucks. I am so lonely. I have absolutely no one in my life and no ability to just be able to leave as I dream of every day because I can't make any money. I seriously hate my life and myself. Who the fuck would allow this kind of bullshit to happen? I obviously deserve my failure for allowing such absurdity. I mean, this poor girl. And her username is no one. No dash one. WON. No one. This poor girl. Um, and the poor kids, too. Uh, I was going to say something about this, and now I forgot what it was. But Oh, I know what it was. So she is stuck in her husband's house and she can't make any money. She can't get a job. And so this is basically like she's stuck in the 1950s. And I'm in the States. And there is a fairly significant portion of the American population, at least in the political realm, that are trying to send us back to the 1950s. So uh, this is how women, so many women, ended up on Mother's Little Helper, as they used to call it, which was various pharmaceuticals that housewives took. We don't want to go back to that. This poor girl, I hope she finds some peace. The next post is called I Miss My Old Life. I miss my old life. Before I gave birth, I was living in the city and I had such a fun life. Lonely at times, yes, but the events and things I did to fill the time made it so much better. Now I'm stuck in the suburbs, still lonely in a different way, and I can't do anything. I can't go see a doctor because I need someone to watch the baby. I can't get a simple manicure or do any of the things I used to do. The baby's dad is completely MIA now, and my family only helps if I pay them. So, we've all heard the famous saying, it takes a village to raise a child, and that really is true. And fortunately, unfortunately, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, there are a lot of single women raising children. There are a lot of single men raising children. Let's not forget, there are plenty of single fathers that step up. But what can I say about it that won't get me hate? I mean, it just is what it is. But it's not ideal for having kids, especially in today when everything is so expensive. I live in Austin, Texas, and you can't live and have a one bedroom apartment that is affordable unless you're making upwards of 80, 90K a year. And if you have kids in the mix, forget it. And so you need support. You need the family support to help raise a kid. And when people back in the day had big families and the cost of living was so much lower and minimum wage was more equal with the cost of things and the cost of housing and food, etc., it was a different time. And right now, this sucks. And I mean, obviously I spend way too much time on Regretful Parents subreddit because it seems like every parent is regretting it. And I realize that's not the case, but many of these folks are married. Some are single, like this girl, and the dad is just out the door. But it's just so sad. And it's so sad, most of all, for the kids. And I mean, it may sound like a callous thing to say, but I actually feel like the best thing I ever did for my children is not have them. And I suppose, a lot of child-free people feel the same way. Um, and I'm already spreading my money thin as it is. I miss being able to just go somewhere without asking for permission. And it feels like my career, the only thing I had going for myself, is likely going to be affected because I can't do the things I used to do that were a part of my job. I don't know why this is. I don't know why I did this. I wish I could turn back time. Hashtag so upset. Ay. Her family will only help her if she pays them. That's just, I mean, that is kind of wrong, but that's the thing. You just cannot force the fact that you chose to have a baby on the rest of your family if they are not willing. And so a lot of new parents seem to think that it's the job of their friends and family to be the village that's going to help them. And more people, at least now in the United States, but I would say probably the world over, just not interested in helping because it's a drag and it's difficult and the world is a fucked up place. And what kind of world is there going to be for the kids that are being born now? And, probably every generation has said that, but we seriously have a big problem. I did watch Oppenheimer last night, so that may be affecting my opinion a bit, but just a bit. I hate that we're the kind of parents who are wasted on my kid. Both my husband and I didn't have great parents. His mostly ignored him, and my mother made it clear nothing I did was ever good enough. So we swore we'd be supportive, kind, caring, and patient. Good for these people. That's some self awareness there. But the second the kid doesn't get the answer he wants, he just freaks out. And the more we try to discuss things with him, the angrier he gets. We'd be better off just not trying at all. She doesn't say how old the kid is. Um, and what the hell do I know? Because I don't have kids, but I would be curious to know what they feed their child and how much processed, ultra processed, and fast food he eats, because that is part of the time we're living in right now. All of the chemicals and all of the things that go into the production of ultra processed and fast food that people just so casually give their kids, I would bet does affect their brain, their growth, their just overall personality. Just my opinion. Okay. Next post is regret all of it. I wish I'd never had a kid, and I wish I'd never gotten married. I never wanted marriage or a kid, and now I have both. Amazing how that happens. I try to be a good wife and a good mom, but I'm shit at it. Like, I never know what my husband wants, and I never know what my son wants. My son is 2, oh God, and he refuses to ask for what he wants. Super picky, super smart though, and has plenty of words, so it's not like he can't ask. And my husband thinks doing the dishes is cleaning the house. While I am the only one working, and I still have to clean everything and do all the laundry and cook while he only does the dishes. This is like I don't know what's going on. And it may just be a thing on Regretful Parents, but it seems more and more I am reading about how women, straight couples, women are ending up having kids with men who don't work and just sit around playing video games all day and are like this. They think they take the trash out and that's helping around the house, and then they go back to playing video games or drinking or doing whatever. They just live their same life, and it's the mother is the default parent who has to be the breadwinner and clean the house and take care of the kids. It is fucking outrageous. Now, of course, there's plenty of people that are going to say, oh, well, that's what feminism wanted, right? Women can do it all. No, no. That's not what feminism wanted. Regardless of whatever you think a feminist is, women want to be equal partners with their male partners and their female partners and their non-binary partners. Humans just want to be equal in a relationship with the other person in the relationship. And so the mother, almost in all of the stories I've read, is the one doing it all. Now, every situation is different. Why some men don't work, okay, whatever. It could be any number of things. But this is really disturbing that there are so many women online talking about this is their situation, that their husband or boyfriend or whatever doesn't work. He just plays video games and he doesn't clean the house. I mean, if you're the one that's home, then you should be doing half the child care and more of the housekeeping. How did we get in this mess, people? How? And don't tell me feminism. Okay, let's do one more. This one is called Anyone Go Through Weird Phases? Maybe it's because I'm a single parent, but I have days where I'm like, my life would be so much easier right now if I didn't have kids. To thank God I have my kids to help me get through this. I got knocked up at 17. My mother wouldn't help me get an abortion and actively talked me out of it. I think she just wanted a baby. That's horrible. Then, when living with her became too risky, she doesn't say how, I moved back in with my daughter's father and got pregnant again just after turning 19. Good Lord. I asked for a termination, but didn't have a license or access to any money. And living rural, the nearest clinic was hours away. So my ex said no. Sorry for the little tangent. I wouldn't say I regret my kids, just their father, honestly. Well, that's a bummer, you know, without getting too political. That's what the abortion restrictions are doing. They are affecting poor women because the rich can go to any state they want, to any private doctor they want. Anyway, okay, last one. I'm at a breaking point. I hate being a mom. I don't know why. I was excited to be a mom. My daughter is a good kid for a 2-year-old, and we've had minimal problems. My husband is a doting husband and father. Good for her. I have support from friends and family. Amazing. But when my daughter was born, I simply didn't bond with her. I didn't love her. I didn't want to take her home. I was diagnosed with postpartum depression, but 2 years on, with no change, it's clear that's not what this is. I just hate motherhood. I wish I never had her. I keep thinking about abandoning my family or unaliving myself, and I feel they'd both be better off without me. 3 different therapists haven't helped. I don't know how to fix this. Now, there's someone that has it all, has everything, everything you're supposed to have to set yourself up for the perfect situation to give your kid the best chance at a good life. And she's caught in depression, obviously, but she's been through 3 therapists. She doesn't say if she's on medication, but, and the kid is 2 years old. I don't know how long it constitutes as postpartum depression, how many months, but that's so sad, not bonding with your baby. And there's a lot of stories like that you hear, because women who don't want to have children, and I can certainly attest to this all my life. I mean, I'm too old to have kids now, so I don't have to worry about it, which is fantastic. Um, but when I was younger, people would say all of the standard things they tell girls still when they say they don't want to have kids. You'll change your mind. It's different when it's yours. It's not. According to so many women online here, it's not. If you don't want kids, you you are an outlier still in America in the 21st century. You're still kind of a weirdo. It's getting better, I think, but I I guess I wish more women would trust their intuition and trust themselves. Because if you really feel like you don't want children or you're on the fence, you're not sure. I mean, I didn't know if I wanted to have 2 big dogs until I was well into my 30s. So if you don't know, wouldn't it be better to get to the point where you can't have your own biological children and think, oh, I really wish I would have had kids, and then you can still be a foster parent or you can still adopt because there are bazillions of kids out there who need love and attention and affection and guidance and wisdom? Or would you rather go ahead and have the kids and be miserable and regret something you did that cannot be undone? And I'm really just asking. I would love to know what people's thoughts are. I've heard a lot of people lately say, particularly even like in the comments on videos that I've made about this topic, I'm so glad. I wasn't really sure, but I'm so glad that I didn't have kids because it's pretty rare that people regret not having them. If you desperately want children and you cannot have them, that's a whole other situation. And one day it would be great if science could, take fertility away from people like me who really spent decades trying not to get pregnant and failed at it 3 times, and give it to people who don't have that kind of fertility and desperately want it. That would be really nice. So, on that note, I think we'll call it a night, guys. I sure appreciate you coming by to hang out with me and read some stories and hear some stories. And please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. It all helps the channel. I sure appreciate you. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much.